In the ancient waterways of Australia's rugged north, a prehistoric creature is reclaiming its hunting grounds. Once on the brink of extinction, efforts to revive their numbers have proven so successful. This most aggressive of predators now threatens the very lives of the ones who saved them.
They haven't changed much for 60,000 years. They're an opportunistic killer.
Killers that have left conservationists with a dilemma of just what to do.
I'm Steve CHAO. On this episode of 101 East, we venture deep into Australia's northern wilderness to chart the return of the saltwater crocodile and to examine the growing call to cull this prehistoric creature.
We begin tonight with extraordinary and frightening pictures as a huge croc attacks a territory picking party.
Northern Territory Police have found evidence a 12-year-old boy has died in a crocodile attack in Kakadu National Park.
The recovery of 26-year-old Sean Cole's body from the Mary River. A family's worst nightmare has come true, with strong indications their 11-year-old girl has been taken by a crocodile.
It was a Sunday afternoon, and a couple of the neighbours' kids come over and said that they wanted to come down a black jungle to go for a swim.
It's been 5 years, but CHARLENE O'Sullivan clearly remembers the day she let her daughter go with friends down this dirt track to swim in a nearby creek.
Would have been about 3:30 in the afternoon, and they hopped on their bikes and came down here.
The creek was popular with people looking to escape the tropical heat of northern Australia. What no one knew was that something was already lurking in the dark waters below.
From my understanding, she jumped off the bank of the creek and possibly jumped straight on top of what was lying beneath, which happened to be a 3+ metre crocodile. Croc was just laying there waiting for something to happen, and it all ended very suddenly.
Heavily armed, prepared to encounter a large saltwater crocodile, a dozen officers from the Tactical Response Group searched for traces of the girl. A heart-wrenching discovery came...
The death of her daughter, Briony, made headlines across the country. The creek was several kilometers inland from the ocean, and saltwater crocodiles had not been seen there before.
Sorry.
No.
For CHARLENE, the grief remains.
I'd give anything to have her back. Anything at all. But I have her memories. I have her warmth in my heart. I know she's out there somewhere looking over us. You know.
So CHARLENE, you came all the way down here that day?
Yeah, I did. I'm not going any further. No way. There's something in the water, but I think it's just grass.
Since Briony's death, the government has posted warning signs around many creeks and waterways. Still, CHARLENE believes the growing numbers of crocodiles in northern Australia pose an unacceptable threat.
I really do believe that in the 70s, when hunting ceased, we handled it wrong. Instead of stopping everything completely, I think there should have been a bit more thought put into it back then.
It was once open season here on crocodiles. From the 1940s to the 70s, safari hunters descended on northern Australia to test their mettle and to catch themselves a trophy. Hundreds were sometimes killed in a single day. By 1971, their numbers were down to just 3,000. Facing extinction, the government was forced to ban all hunting of crocs. Fast forward to 2014. It's the wet season, and in Darwin, Northern Australia's largest city, that means flash storms and flooding. With water levels at their highest, a rebounding crocodile population is on the move, putting more people at risk. Tom Nichols is on the front lines in the battle to protect against croc attacks. He invites us to join him on a patrol. Several years ago, he lost 2 fingers and a part of his hand to a croc, but it hasn't stopped him. From Darwin's harbor to beyond, he and his team of wildlife rangers are responsible for 160 kilometers of coastline. To help them cover the area, they set traps. The first one we pull up to has done its job.
He's still in there. He's a nice croc too. I'll put that up. You're going to do the snout rope?
A crocodile's jaws, when closing, can exert more than 3,000 kilograms of force.
Well, a lot of these rangers have done this many times before, but there's always that degree of uncertainty here, so it's all about going slowly and going carefully.
They succeed, but the reptile puts up a fight.
That was good, Emma. Might put one more on him, eh? What we're doing now, we'll be lifting him up here.
Oh, yeah, he's coming out. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
20 years ago, Nichols and his team were capturing just a few dozen crocodiles a year. Today, they deal with close to 300 a year.
Okay, from here, what we're doing is just taping over the zip tie to secure his mouth and make sure it's safe.
Come around.
Okay, we're bringing him in now.
And where once crocodiles were nearly extinct in northern Australia, Nichols estimates the population today stands at more than 100,000.
Get on his head, you want to do his legs.
For these territorial animals, their growing number means many of them are constantly searching for new areas to live in, areas often close to people.
When we first started, it was a situation where it was trying to bring crocodiles up to an abundant number. Whereas today, we're now facing the problem is we're up to that, we've got too many, what do we do? You know, so we're now going through a different phase, and it's not an easy one to work out. Nice clean belly skin, that one.
We keep our feet on this one. Nichols says the pressure prevents it from thrashing about the boat.
So Tom, looking at the size of this croc, is this one a threat to people?
Most definitely. Look, this croc is approximately 3 metres long. Now, he'd have no trouble taking a large adult, and obviously with a kid, there's no problem whatsoever.
Later in the day, Tom and his team capture several more.
We will have another fatality, there ain't no doubt about that. It's just a matter of when. All we can do is our best is try to reduce the numbers of crocs in certain areas.
We take to the air and join scientist Charlene MANOLIS. For more than 30 years, MANOLIS has studied saltwater crocodiles and has sought to find the balance between humans and a predator that would eat them.
Okay.
On this day, he's come to Malacca Swamp to collect crocodile eggs. It's a task filled with potential peril.
And inside here, you know there's a female in there.
There's a mother waiting there.
You know she's here somewhere, because they do not leave their nest. They stay pretty damn close to it.
Not only does Manolis and his team risk contending with an angry mother croc, but there's also all the threats that come with wading through a swamp.
So the thing to be careful of here is any open water.
It's going to be a long day.
Once you're into here, you'll be more solid, guys.
Charlie warned us beforehand that this was going to be difficult, but I don't think we had a true sense of it. We just landed in water that was at times waist high, perhaps sometimes even higher. And then now we're dealing with sawgrass. We're trying to press it down right now. If you actually grab some of this grass, it'll cut you right open. So you have to be really careful here, and we're just trying to get to a nest, but it's slow going.
If you have to, test the water. Right, just make sure that it's shallow and there's nothing hiding in there, okay?
After some tough going, Manolis finds the nest.
In front of us is her wallow. Just be ready to move back. If I call you, you run backwards, okay? Safety first.
A croc once severely injured one of Manolis' colleagues, and he's had a few close calls himself. This time, though, the mother doesn't show herself. The good news is there are eggs inside the nest.
Oh wow, look at that. These eggs are about, they're about 50 days old. There we go, she's just about covered.
CHARLENE MANOLIS is teaching these Aboriginal rangers how to collect eggs. Farms pay $40 for each one. And with dozens in a nest, that means a swamp like this can potentially yield tens of thousands of dollars for a community.
Yeah, this is Australia's biggest carnivore. We've got nothing bigger. And so if we want people to live with them, we want people to live side by side with them, they've got to be worth something. If people think that they're not worth anything, they don't want to conserve it.
MANOLIS hits on a key strategy of the Northern Territory government. Keep crocs valuable, and people will be more willing to protect them, despite the dangers they pose. We see how well that philosophy is working on our next stop. Every year, millions of visitors descend on Northern Australia, known as the top end. And the biggest draw are crocodiles. Where once they were hunted, today they are the key tourist attraction. In the heart of Darwin, people can feed these prehistoric creatures. There are pools of hungry young ones, along with the more formidable of beasts. People can also get face-to-face with the world's most aggressive carnivore in an experience called the Cage of Death. We decide to give it a try. Sharing the pool with us is Chopper, a 5.5-meter croc. Separated by only a piece of plexiglass, you can feel Chopper's incredible strength and realize that in a real face-to-face, humans don't stand a chance. Well, that was incredible. You know, you hear about how powerful these creatures are, but it's only when you get up close that you really get a sense of it. These are massive creatures. I know I certainly don't want to meet one in the wild. Tourism in the top end is a billion-dollar industry, and tour operators have come up with all kinds of creative ways to experience crocs. On some rivers, even wild ones have been trained to literally jump for food. These reptiles with incredible tail strength now provide more jobs in the region than any other industry. Yet another reason for people to want to keep them around.
Okay, Steve, here's our, well, I think it's an incubator, but it also doubles as a sauna.
Back at a crocodile park where MANOLIS works, the eggs are starting to hatch.
Right.
Some need a bit of a helping hand.
That's it, just rip it open. Yeah, that's it, it's just a leathery...
Come out, yeah.
It's okay, just rip it open, it's okay. Watch out he doesn't bite you.
Yeah.
Come on, mate.
It's quite an experience, seeing them from birth. It also turns out to be a first-hand lesson in croc behavior.
These guys are aggressive now. The moment they come out of that egg and you put them together, these guys will brawl, they will fight. One animal will become dominant and keep the others from the food.
MANOLIS says saltwater crocodiles are hardwired from birth to kill. It's little wonder then that humans through the ages hunted them, often as a way to protect their communities. Later, MANOLIS takes us to visit one of the park's most aggressive crocs.
Come on, mate.
So how big is this guy?
4.7, 4.8 metres. And out. We'll stop him.
Well, having devoted years to studying and protecting these creatures, MANOLIS says it's time to reintroduce old methods to curb their population.
Do you feel it's justified to have safari hunting or trophy hunting?
Look, I do, because it's just another mechanism by which you can make crocodiles valuable. It works for other safari trophy hunting operations in Africa and in other countries in the world. Why not Australia?
There is one Australian outlaw that has lobbied years for a return to safari hunting, and he's agreed to speak to us.
Well, we're off to meet the crocodile world's most notorious and I dare say despised of characters. He's been on the run from the law many times in the past, specifically for illegally hunting crocs. He's known as quite controversial, so this meeting is going to be a very interesting one.
Police have often raided this property in the deep backwoods, so I'm unsure just what kind of reception we'll get.
You must be Mick.
Steve, is it?
Yes.
How you going there?
Hey,
How are
good,
you?
good.
That's-
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, me too, mate.
But the man we meet is not only warm, he openly shows us his operation.
Such a slow process.
A longtime poacher, Mick PITMAN says today he is a legitimate taxidermist, specializing in crocodiles. His workshop is full of skins and stuffed heads, ready for market. He also has no bones about sharing his past.
It was a real adventure, there's no doubt about it, but being a poacher for 16 years was unreal. It was the best thing. I only ever got caught with one animal out of between 16 and 17,000 animals. No matter how many people you had after me, you still couldn't catch me. And that's how it was. It was unreal.
What a life, wow.
Mick agreed to let us show some of the only home video taken from his days of illegal hunting. He would kill dozens at a time, and it was out in the bush, he says, he learned how to properly prepare skins. In the mid-90s, Mick says he came over to the other side of the law, and the government has since given him and his men a license to help landowners kill crocs, if they pose a danger on their property. The ones they catch, they stuff. A full-sized big one sells for a small fortune.
I've just sold one recently and he was 4.8 metres and I got $24,000 for it.
Recently, the government rejected a proposal to allow for safari hunts, saying there is a risk of cruel and inhumane treatment. PITMAN believes politicians are misguided.
All it is changing the trigger puller. That's what people can't understand. Instead of me pulling the trigger and me getting, say, $20,000 for selling the taxidermied animal, hey mate, come here. Here it is. You've passed your test, your competency test. Shoot him. Boof. 20 grand. Good on ya.
After all his years as a poacher, PITMAN says he's used to challenging authority and vows to continue lobbying for hunts to be legalized. He wants to become a guide to trophy hunters and share in the big profits he says tourism operators currently enjoy. One of the most magical places in northern Australia is Kakadu National Park. It's a timeless landscape. Included in the 20,000 square kilometers of diverse scenery are floodplains. And it's in these wild waterways that the crocodile population has resurged. We've come to Magilla Creek with Neville NAMARNYILK, an Aboriginal guide. In these close quarters, he warns us to always be on guard. Crocs have been known to ambush people here.
And which is one is over there now.
Oh yeah, you can see her right there, right?
Neville locates a mother crocodile by a tree.
There it is. Beautiful creature just lying over there.
She's basically guarding the nest.
Yes, she is. She is guarding the nest at all time.
We go in for a closer look.
So she's ready.
She's ready, right?
She's ready. Because if we don't go close 2-3 meters away from that nest, then she will try and attack us.
A few weeks ago, a 12-year-old boy was swimming in this waterway just upstream when a crocodile around this size took him. Traditionally, it's been relatively safe for the Aboriginal community to swim, to hunt, to gather in these waterways, but things are changing.
Neville was born in Kakadu, and as a boy, he swam in these waters. But today, it's no longer safe. Interestingly, he blames humans, not crocodiles, for the rising number of attacks.
But all we gotta do is just to respect the animal and respect the water, because the water, this is where it's home. And we're gonna respect where he roams around or where he lives.
Everywhere throughout Kakadu's extensive waterways, we spot these prolific predators. And despite posted warnings, we also find lots of people taking risks. This group fishes in a culvert, where just meters away, crocodiles lie in wait. Outside the park's boundary, others take the meaning of risk to another level, standing knee-deep in a river infested with man-eaters. To better understand why they do it, I carefully make my way across the rocks.
How often do you come out to fish?
Every weekend. You catch a barra one after the other. You can catch 50 to 100 in a day.
Barra, or barramundi, are the prize sport fish in the area. And ZENON THEODOROU says they're worth the danger. He's been fishing here since he was a boy.
What about the crocs?
They pop up every now and again.
They will. But you say it with a smile, man. You're really not afraid.
Nah. They won't come up here.
Oh, they won't come up here. But what about from behind you?
Just don't worry about them.
It's just that kind of attitude that worries Aboriginal elders. Neville takes me to one of Kakadu's ancient sites. Here, his ancestors some 40,000 years ago painted stories. Many tell of the unique animals they lived with, but they also serve as lessons for future generations.
These two women here, they didn't respect what the law, so they got punished.
This story tells of how two sisters often played by the water's edge, till one day they turned into crocodiles. It's a warning, says Neville, about being wary of where the crocodile makes its home.
This is some rockets here, some in there. With some...
Neville says the Aboriginal people have long held a spiritual reverence for a creature that's been around for more than 250 million years.
We believe that crocodile, once upon a time, he was a man, and there was a fire that fell from the sky, and then there was a big impact, and then he wanted to save himself, so he ran into the water, and he jumped into the water, and he saved himself there in the water, and then all the other living creatures has got burnt by that fire.
The marks on the crocodile's back are said to be scars from that fire. While many are pushing for safari hunts to resume, Neville is against them. He believes crocodiles regulate their own population, with the bigger ones killing the smaller ones. If safari hunts go ahead, he fears nature will be put out of balance.
We respect them, they will respect us. Just in that way, then we can feel that. But I say, yeah, leave them alone, let them be. They were here before us.
At a nearby school, these 5-year-olds are about to get a lesson on respect.
I love crocodiles. Who loves crocodiles? Me. Yeah, they put in
After a series of deaths involving children, the government introduced the Croc-Wise program.
If there's no sign saying that it's safe to swim, you don't swim.
Wildlife rangers teach how to stay safe around water.
Do they live in the harbour?
No.
They do. So we need to be careful when we go down to the sea.
They're also taught
Keep going. Bit slower.
that these creatures pose a threat.
He probably was about that long before his tail got bitten off. Pretty amazing. Do you think a crocodile that big would be dangerous?
Yes.
No, he's a bit stuck.
The day's lesson is brought home with a chance to spend time with a young croc.
Wow.
Right. Go for it.
Rangers hope is the closest any of them will ever get to one. Back at base, the crocs captured in traps are put in a holding pen. They'll be shipped off to farms where they'll eventually be turned into luxury bags and purses, worth tens of thousands of dollars each.
We have this trap which was brought into the...
Tom NICHOLS won't say where he stands on safari hunting, but he believes education and an active management program have kept most communities safe. Still, with both humans and crocodiles expanding their territory, he says deaths are inevitable.
All we're doing really is creating a vacuum. What we take out, another one's going to come back in. We're still going to have another fatality. There ain't no doubt about that. It's just a matter of when, and we try to do our best to reduce those chances of a fatality taking place, but we can never guarantee nothing.
We've come to Northern Australia during the wet season, a time when crocodiles give birth and expand their territory. But with public pressure building, a new season could be upon them, one where they're the ones that are once again hunted. For now, these prehistoric creatures remain protected, allowed to thrive, a danger lying in wait.